Hey friends, I'm back with a new video. In this video, we're talking about rat catchers who made money by hunting rats in Europe in the 18th and 19th centuries. Let's see what happened. Enjoy the video. If you like it, please leave a comment and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. In the crowded cities of 18th and 19th century Europe, rats were not just a nuisance, they were a deadly threat. Streets overflowed with waste, sewers were primitive, and food was stored in open markets. This was a paradise for rats. They spread typhus, leptospirosis, and most famously, the bubonic plague. The population feared rats as harbingers of death. Out of this fear, a strange but necessary profession was born: the rat catcher. Rat catchers were men, often from poor backgrounds, who turned pest control into a trade. Armed with sticks, dogs, traps, and sometimes even their bare hands, they would descend into sewers, warehouses, and dockyards. Their goal was simple: catch as many rats as possible, dead or alive. In London, Paris, and Berlin, entire neighborhoods relied on them. Some rat catchers sold live rats to wealthy gentlemen for dogfighting sports. Others sold rat skins or even used them to make hats and gloves. The line between pest control and business opportunity was very thin. Imagine London in 1850. Narrow streets reek of waste, children play in alleys crawling with vermin, and dockworkers unload ships filled with grain and rats. In this environment, a rat catcher like Jack Black, the Queen's official rat catcher, was a hero. He wore a flamboyant uniform and carried cages filled with rats, some dyed bright colors to amuse crowds. Yet, behind the spectacle, his work was dirty, dangerous, and sometimes fatal. The life of a rat catcher was a strange mix of bravery, poverty, and survival. Most of them came from the lowest social classes. Children of laborers, beggars, or ex-prisoners often took up the job because nobody else wanted it. It was considered filthy, but it gave food and coins to those who dared. Their daily routine was gruesome. At dawn, a rat catcher might head to the docks, where ships arriving from India, Africa, or America carried not only exotic goods but also stowaway rats. In warehouses, he would crawl into dark corners with a lantern in one hand and a sack in the other. Dogs trained for rat hunting, usually terriers, were crucial partners. The dogs would bark, dig, and leap into rat nests, pulling the creatures out with lightning speed. But traps were also essential. Wooden snap traps baited with cheese or meat were common. Some used ingenious cages that allowed rats in but not out. There were even rat pits, enclosed spaces where dozens of rats were dumped for sport, with dogs unleashed to kill them in minutes. Rat catchers supplied these pits, feeding an underground entertainment industry. The job carried extreme risk. Bites were inevitable, and many rat catchers bore scars on their hands and arms. Infections spread quickly. Rabies, tetanus, or septicemia could kill a man within days. Worse still, every rat carried the possibility of plague. Imagine crawling through a sewer, waist deep in waste, knowing that one bite could mean death. Yet, they continued because hunger was a stronger fear than disease. In the mid-17th century, London was in terror. The Great Plague of 1665 swept through the city, killing almost 100,000 people in a single year. At the heart of this nightmare stood a figure both hated and needed: the rat catcher. One famous story tells of Jack Black, a self-proclaimed royal rat catcher in Victorian London. He wore a flamboyant costume of red and yellow, carrying live rats in cages as proof of his skill. He wasn't just catching them. He bred unusual colored rats to sell as pets, even to members of the royal family. Imagine, in a time when rats were blamed for spreading death, some were kept in gilded cages as curiosities. But the darker tales are harder to forget. During plague outbreaks, rat catchers were sent into the worst-hit neighborhoods. They worked in silence at night, entering homes where entire families lay dead. Rats swarmed around the bodies, feeding on grain, fabrics, and sometimes flesh. To step into such a scene was like walking into hell itself. And yet, despite their work, the rat catchers could not stop the invisible killer, the fleas that lived on rats. People cursed them when outbreaks grew worse, accusing them of failing their duty or even of secretly spreading rats to keep their jobs. Trust was fragile, and a rat catcher could be both savior and villain in the same breath. Still, without them, cities would have been drowned in vermin. Their dirty, dangerous task slowed infestations just enough for fragile societies to survive. They were unsung warriors in a war humanity barely understood. By the late 19th century, the role of the rat catcher began to fade. Cities were changing. Underground sewer systems carried away the filth that once attracted vermin, and new scientific discoveries finally revealed the true culprit behind plagues, the flea and its microscopic passengers. The rat was no longer seen as just a nuisance, but as a carrier of invisible armies. As medicine advanced, governments created official public health departments. Pest control became professionalized. Gone were the days of men in ragged clothes with sacks of rats over their shoulders. In their place came inspectors, scientists, and teams armed with chemicals. The rat catcher became a relic, a ghost from a dirtier time. Yet their influence lingers. In some villages, old men still tell stories of legendary rat catchers who cleared entire streets with nothing but traps and dogs. And in our language, culture, and fears, the rat remains a symbol. From children's tales of the Pied Piper to modern horror films, the shadow of the rat catcher survives. Most importantly, their existence reminds us of a truth we often forget. Every city, no matter how grand, stands on a fragile line between order and chaos. Behind the polished stone streets and glittering lights, there has always been a hidden war against creatures that multiply in the dark. Rat catchers were soldiers in that war, uncelebrated, unseen, but absolutely essential. When we flush a toilet, seal a wall, or call a pest control service today, we are continuing a battle they once fought with their bare hands. The world may have forgotten their names, but the rat catchers live on in every clean street and every disease we manage to prevent. What should the next video be about? Please let us know in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications to witness history together. See you soon, friends.